Well, first of all, of course, I'm raised after the Second World War in terms that I start going into the school, but in that time, in 50s, Yugoslavia was actually very country with very big relationship, more with the West than the East, because our leaders, Communist Party, had some clashes with the Soviet, so we have start communicating actually with France, with England, with America, and for us youngsters, the most interesting thing have been happening in the cinemas, because actually the new films from France, from America, from even Baltic countries have been coming in Yugoslavia just in the same time when they have premiere in Paris or in these great authors, from Fellini to Bergman. I was watching in normal cinema in small city of Novi Sad, you understand? So for us, the screen was the open window to the world. And of course that brought me to start being interested to join the cine clubs. We have had also organization in each bigger cities of cine clubs, amateur cine clubs, where we could use 8 millimeters film small camera, which have been simple and cheap. And what was also interesting in that time, those cinema clubs, they have been part of big organization which was called Technique for the People. So they have had the radio clubs, they have had photo clubs and film clubs. So actually my first small documentary films have been made in those kino clubs. Afterwards, when I finished law studies, because in that time, you could not enter academy if you do not have any, like a normal faculty. 60s, in the middle of 60s, when I already finished law faculty. So my professional engagement started as assistant in a big company, Avala Film. In that time, our big company in Belgrade, Zagreb, Ljubljana, and other countries have been mostly doing co-production with the Western countries. So many of these so-called, for instance, the cowboy films, they have been made in some Yugoslav desert and mountains. Then many of German historical films have been made in our country. Then Italian big spectacles about Roman Empire that was made on our Adriatic coast in cities like Split and Dubrovnik, because in those cities are still some old structures from Roman time, you understand? So when I entered Avala Film, on the invitation of Dusan Makavejev, who is 10 years older than me, we could not, our small crew, he was making the film Love Affair of Switchboard Operator, and I was his assistant. It was a small crew of, in that time, 30, 40 people, because the big crews have been crews with 150 or 300 people. So we in Avala Film could not get Coca-Cola, because in the cafeteria and restaurant was, for instance, Hardy Krieger, Orson Welles, Silva Koščina, all these big stars from Hollywood, you understand? So that was applied in documentary film companies, professional documentary film companies, which we had in all cities. You see, Zagreb, Ljubljana, Skopje, all the cities which have been like capitals of republic. So I proposed few topics. Some of them you are going to watch here, and they said, okay. It is, it's complicated, but we will find a way, because this what you are proposing, it's a bit provocative, but it is area we are not having often in our films. So I went and I started making my short films. So the the possibility for seeing the films was only one, that was in the cinema. Even if you wanted to show the film to your friend, there was no other way. You have to find maybe the moment when the audience went out of the cinema to bring 2 bottles of beer to the man who is on projection room and said, please show my 15 minutes film. That was the only way how could we see film. You see? Well, you see, for me, most of these moments actually came from experience. You see, I remember when I was going in secondary school in Novi Sad, that I always was affected by the fact that about 75% of us are kids from the city, and 25% are the people who are coming from the villages. And they must get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then take a train and come there. Maybe they have to maybe do something at home to feed the cows and the horses and maybe the pigs, and then come and sit with us in the apartment. Sometimes we say, you did not clean your shirt or your shoes today. How can he do it when he was passing 10 kilometers through the mud? And then after the school, we went home to eat, and they went on the railway station to wait for the train. And my first film, which I proposed, I said, I want to film the life of the village youngsters where they really live. And the producer said, that's interesting, that never come in this state newsreel. You see, that is what. Second topic, which is called Small Pioneers, came to my mind when I saw that actually in our city, without being well known in the center, on the outskirts are Roma families who actually came inside of the center of the city in a moment when actually the new regime was cutting big boulevards through the old city because of cars coming and so on, and about maybe 2,000 normal houses have been put down for this boulevard. And I saw a lot of Roma, young and old, how they are trying to find maybe some useful things which remind from the bricks or part of furniture or maybe plates and knives and so on. They have been collecting it. I asked, well, why are doing it? We are going to sell it on the second-hand market. And I start talking to those kids, and I understood how they live a bit outside of society, like they are not registered. And that is the moment when I proposed my second film, you see. And again, producer said, okay, it's a topic not very often seen. Can you first make some normal story with them? Because they work in selling newspapers in the late evening. I said, okay, but then let me another week that I make my own story. Thinking about literature, thinking about painting, and thinking about sculpturing, whatever, you have various forms and styles. You see, you have something what is classic. You have something what is innovation. You have something what is provocative, and that is something how would I say, the position of art in society was from the maybe ancient time, you see, just to spot some stories, some destinies, some controversial situation in society. We are not talking loudly about it, so it is. I'm sure I was watching also Romanian films in earlier times and also today, and you have had absolutely very much the same colleagues. I remember some of them meeting me, they said, hello, I have seen your films, I appreciate it because you are very much on my line. So I go and see his film, and that is similar style. Not the story, of course, and not the signature, but the style. So it is of course, that from very beginning I knew if I'm somehow inspired, I am really inspired to show something what would be surprise and what would spark debate. That is my aim, like the film which you are going to see today, which is called Old School of Capitalism. So to be then judged by some part of society or establishment as someone who is wrong, I don't mind, because I answer them the same. I said, you make mistake. You are one who is destroying society, not we artists. We are artists. We are too, naive. You have much more strength, and you have much more capacity to actually destroy this ideology you are promoting. You see, this what you are saying is socialism today looks like feudalism, because you are now 10 times, 100 times wealthier and in a better position than other people. So I'm not running away from confrontation. Come, on some invitation, because that is for this type of film, what I make, that is this opportunity, rare opportunity, that the people can see it and can discuss those films, as actually in today's film repertoire in Romania, in Serbia, and all over the world, you have these commercial films. Most of those commercial films are those spectacles which are like, full of some either horror stories, what will happen with the earth in next 100 or 1,000 years. That is one topic. Another topic is that actually how environment is completely destroyed, and we will be maybe attacked by some either aliens or bacteria and so on. That is also something which we could find in literature even 100 or 300 years ago. So I'm not against it, but that is what somehow is challenging to the audience and for the young people today, especially because many of technique today is somehow mixed with actually electronic devices and electronic possibilities of creating the images. You see what young generation is engaged very much. You see maybe half of the youngsters are using computer not only for the games, but also to express themselves and to find what they can create themselves. You see, like in my time we have been doing it with writing or maybe with painting and this sort of thing. So I understand why those films I'm making would not be received in big distributions, and these festivals is opportunity. Sometimes those festivals also make some actually information and advertisement. Cinematography did not die. On contrary, I would say that Romanian cinematography, especially because luckily in Romania, this so-called transition from socialism to this democratic system of, republic, you made it more quickly, more successful, without any ethnic wars, what unfortunately we have had in our country. Those ethnic wars, unfortunately, they have damaged all those, I would say, easygoing and progressive years what we had in Yugoslavia. So instead of the country where actually our people have been invited to go and to find work all over Balkan Peninsula, you see now those borders between our country, between former country, Republic of Socialistic Yugoslavia, they are open, but they are even less easy than actually access to the Turkey or to the Greece or to the Italy. So that is sad. That is sad. But that is a failure of elite. That is not a failure of the people. Elite was one who actually was spreading this hatred ideology. Absolutely elite. Why? Because the third or the fourth generation of leaders who came after the war, most of them have been the worst bureaucracy which I know, the worst Stalinists which I know. And now they are Christians, but they even don't know to cross themselves. Some of them, they are crossing with left hand, you see. So unfortunately, what is the scam of socialism are now like leading a new democracy, and that made a disaster. But what can we do? I mean, that is also something what is happening in the history in the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, that's
right. You have been asking me about topics, and you have been asking me about conflicts, but what I didn't have time to tell you, when I decide about the story and topic, I'm asking for the participant who have a need to be part of that film. So I say, look, we are now in the village. We know that you are just put away. Nobody said, who of you wants to be filmed and to show you your character, your joy, your happiness? And then 100 people raised their hand and said, you come in front of my camera. That is my method, how I do. Also, this film, Old School of Capitalism, today, what you are going to show, I went in the city of Zrenjanin, which was a most developed industrial city in agriculture, maybe in whole area. They have factories, they have a product, they have tremendous. Can you imagine? They have been feeding with the meat American army in Europe. So 50 lorries each year have been bringing this meat to Frankfurt airport. So they have been so strong. And then came this transition, you see, and then some criminals took those factories and destroyed. And thousands of people are unemployed. So I went there to film their struggle for actually their rights. And then we made 3 documentary films. And those films have been shown in some local television station, and somehow some progress was made, not much. And I said to them, okay, you participate in my film because you wanted to say your truth. It is a big discussion. But now we finished the job. I bought 50 beers, let's drink a beer and say goodbye. I said, no, Želimir, we did not finish. I said, what we did not finish? I said, we did not show another side. We did not show these evil people, these speculative people who actually did us harm. I said, what do you want? He said, let make also that story. I said, this story, what you are asking for, it's a feature film with actors. And I don't have any budget. I said, but we are going to act. There was 300 of them. I said, try us. Some of us had the talent. So I spent 3 days making a test filming. And I said, and I developed the story. This story, what we're going. I said, okay. But I said, look, people, we will make this fiction film with this story, or you and your enemies, but we have to show that you failed. On the end, actually, your struggle did not succeed. I say, okay, we don't mind, but let us show. So you see, so I was working with, with the people who are angry, but they have been happy that they could show their anger and communicate their anger. And they have not been ashamed that they are now the people who are losers, because they say, yes, we are losers, but we also showed why we are losers. So you see, I would say maybe 80%, maybe even more, maybe in 90% of my films, I have in front of the camera the people who are as willing that the story should be put publicly as I, you see. And so, I think, but it is also something what is not a general rule. The good life is the life where you do not have any regret that you actually made some moves or some action against your own values, where you did not step on some of the principles you would like to cherish and to follow. So then that good life can be modest life, can be also very much flamboyant life. That is not the question. I think the main thing is that you do not somehow feel that you betrayed your soul. That is important.